Hey everyone, I have some big news, and it's not the brand new command line course I just launched, although you can find a coupon code for that in the description. I'll tell you more about it next week. I'll post some free content. So what is the actual big news? I'm hiring. I am looking for somebody to join my team. It's a very small team right now, to help me specifically with this YouTube channel. So I want to grow this YouTube channel that, as you know, if you're a subscriber, it's been a very up and down process where I've devoted months at a time to cranking out videos consistently and then months at a time to not creating videos. It's pretty tough for me to create courses and update courses, which is creating a bunch of video content, and at the same time, create a bunch of video content for YouTube. So what I'm looking for is somebody to help me with that process, so that I don't end up like this, which is what I kind of currently am, or this. I'm looking for somebody to help me create materials for my YouTube channel. So not the videos. I'm not looking for someone to, make videos and take my place. I recognize that a lot of people like my teaching style, or maybe I'm delusional, but I'm not looking for someone to, record videos. I'm looking for someone to help me get to the point of recording. There's a lot of work that goes into each video, just starting with determining what to teach, things like the title of a video, researching what students actually want. But then most importantly, figuring out the outline, the different beats for a video, figuring out the slides, any diagrams, any code demos that I would need. If I'm teaching a topic like Webpack, I need some code to demonstrate Webpack with. And then there's additional responsibilities around managing the YouTube channel. So things like updating coupon codes if I have them in the description of videos. Other things like figuring out new topics and ideas and looking back at videos we've already done and figuring out which ones are successful and why, which ones were not successful and why. So it's kind of an open-ended role, but it does require some technical skills in order to make slides, in order to help me create the video content that I'm looking to make. You need to understand and be pretty proficient with all the stuff that I teach, especially HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, comfortable with a command line and with Git. You don't need to be an expert at something like React or Angular. I'm not looking for somebody who is already a senior developer or somebody who has a ton of developer experience. I'm really looking for somebody who has the somewhat rare skill of being technical, but also being able to think like a teacher, having empathy for other students, for beginners, or just being able to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who doesn't know a topic. How do you break it down? How do you explain it? That requires understanding the topic, but also being able to put yourself in their mindset. So another thing is definitely being able to pick up new languages or libraries as needed. That's just part of, if you need to create a video on MongoDB and you don't know Mongo, you don't have to be an expert in it overnight, especially if the video is focused on 10 minutes of Mongo, but you need to feel comfortable being able to do that. So I'm not looking for some crazy experienced developer. As I said, really I need that hybrid between teaching skills. You don't have to have been a teacher, but the ability to demonstrate that you can teach or that you can think like a teacher, plus the technical skills. Now, additionally, it would be great if you have some design experience or the ability to use Photoshop or Illustrator, create thumbnails for a YouTube channel. That's optional, definitely not a deal breaker, but it certainly would be nice. Any experience crunching numbers, especially for a YouTube channel or any sort of social media garbage, figuring out, if videos are doing well or not doing well, what topics are trending, any marketing experience, any specific experience to a YouTube channel or running your own YouTube channel. These are kind of niche things I'm not really expecting applicants to have, but if you have any of them, great. So here's how the application process will work. I'm going to ask you to create materials that I could use to make my own 10-minute video on one of the 3 topics that I'm about to talk about. But first, I just want to be very clear. I'm not going to use your materials to create videos and profit off of your work. I don't want it to appear that way. This is purely about demonstrating your skills at creating slides and breaking down concepts and providing me an outline. So again, I will not use whatever you create to make my own video content. Although that is what would happen if I hired you and, that would be the relationship. You create slides for me and I use those slides. So there are 3 topics that you can pick from: SQL versus NoSQL, the CSS position property, or hashing functions. Now, these are 3 topics that range in scope and complexity, and some front-end stuff, some back-end stuff. Hashing functions is pretty open to interpretations. All that I'm looking for is a set of slides and an outline for a potential 10-minute video on one of those topics. So you can choose the video title, you can choose exactly what to cover, what to focus on, but the idea is that I would then use those materials to create my own video. But again, I'm not going to do that, not for the application process. Please don't spend more than a couple hours on this. I really don't like take-home projects for interviews that expect you to work like days on something. I am not looking for something that's perfect. It's really just the best way I can think of to gauge those 2 skills here, the understanding technical stuff, but also being able to think like a teacher. So a little bit more information about what I'm looking for. First up, an outline that explains the breakdown of the video, the different beats, sort of, you start with an introduction explaining X concept about hashing functions. Then you define what hashing functions are, and then, showing me the flow and the progression of concepts and how one thing leads to another. I'm not looking for a script that has word for word, a dialogue or voiceover written down. I'm just looking for bullet points. This doesn't need to be an essay, but it should hopefully be clear and easy for me to look at, where I can see sort of your thought process, and it should accompany the deck of slides. So the slides do not need to be beautiful. They don't have to be some stunning revolutionary design. I would like you to use canva.com, which is what I use for my slides. It's free to sign up. You don't have to use, the themes that I use or the same fonts or anything like that. We can always pretty up the slides later. I can, share the assets and the fonts and colors I use after the fact if we end up working together. So canva.com, canva.com. You can just sign up. I'm not currently signed in here, but sign up. It's free. Create a new presentation. There's a bunch of themes and stuff, but all that you'll need to do is make your deck of slides, pick one of those themes, or do something on your own, and then you can just go to share. You'll have to be signed in, but when you go to share, you'll get a link that you can then copy and paste to the application. So those are the 2 things that I'm looking for: an outline, a breakdown of a 10-minute video on one of these topics, and that outline should then accompany a deck of slides that I could use to actually make that video. But again, I'm not going to do that because that's kind of scummy, but approach it as if I were going to make a video. Now, in terms of the other details, it will be a paid role. It will start part-time. At least in the short term. There definitely can be potential for a full-time role down the line. I'm also open to doing a revenue share with the YouTube channel and any YouTube revenue, any potential sponsorships. There's kind of a whole other side of this role that could materialize around managing sponsorships and partnerships and all that fun stuff. And we'll need to meet relatively frequently, probably once a week, just over Zoom or Google Hangout. But other than that, synchronous time where we'll be chatting, almost all the work will be asynchronous, very flexible. You'll just get something done in your own time in a given week. There'll be deadlines and that sort of thing, but you won't have to work the same hours as me, for example. So that's pretty much it. You can find a link to the type form if you do want to apply in the description of this video. It just has a couple of questions. It wants you to include the link to the Canva slides that you create, put your first name in, your last name, basic application stuff, nothing crazy. Put in the technologies that you're proficient in, put in the Canva link to your slides, include a link to the outline you created, whether it's a gist or Google Doc or some other form of an outline, something that I can read, and then your LinkedIn profile, your GitHub profile, if you have them, any other sort of links you want to include, a portfolio project, social media, and then really any information you want to include, you can include in this last bit, along with your email address that I can contact you if I want to set up an interview with you. So that's the basic process. You can find this link in the description. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with more information about my new course, but more importantly, new videos and educational stuff. So stay tuned for that. And again, you can find a coupon code in the description for my new course. All right, that's it. See you next week.